Howdy there YouTube, my name is Dennis Reese, and in this video I'm going to show you what I did to make my truck light up like a Christmas tree. So there's a few things I'm going to go over with you here. First thing is how I power them. The second thing is how I run the cords through the vehicle to power those lights. And the last is how I actually stick them to the vehicle. And then at the end I'll go over a few little odds and ends and things that I've experienced from doing this for all these years. So like I said, the first step is how I power them. So let's go into the truck. All right, so when you step in, you'll notice this is my phone charger, but this little guy is what makes the whole thing work. Because where that leads, when I open this up, is this little guy right here. And I'll go over why I got all this other stuff in here in a bit, but this is my power inverter, all right? You can pick this up from any auto parts store. I think I got this from an AutoZone. And you can see it's got a few USB plug-ins, but I bought it because it had two regular plug-in ports and not just one. Most of them just have one, but this one's two. And you'll see why I did that when I show you how I actually run the cables for this thing. But before I, go any further, let me explain some about these power inverters that I learned from watching other videos just like this on YouTube. If you look real close there, you'll see it says 120 watts. What that means is that's the most wattage that this will be able to put out. So when you buy your power inverter, you want to make sure you buy one that's at least 120 watts. Now, honestly, most power inverters are going to be at least 120 watts. When I was looking, I didn't see any that were less powered than that. However, you will find power inverters that are more powerful than that, but it's pointless to buy them if your plug-in's only 120, and I promise you it's more than likely 120. So you're not going to be able to get more juice than 120, and those power inverters that do more than 120 watts are going to be way more expensive, and it's pointless for you to buy them. So only buy one that's 120. And the next thing is the wattage. The wattage is really important. When you look at a box of Christmas lights, you're going to see that it has a wattage on the back of it. It's usually in really tiny little letters. But it'll have how many watts each line of lights pull. And if you've ever done a compare and contrast of regular lights versus LED lights, you'll see that regular lights pull way more watts than LEDs. So the lights that I have on this truck, each strand is 3.6 watts. And I've got 6 strands of lights on this truck. So what that means is if you multiply 6 times 3.6, that's math, whatever that number is, but it's very easily under 120. So I know I'm not trying to pull more wattage than what that outlet can handle. I also know that I can add way more lights to this truck if I want to, and I do want to. I finally figured out how to squeeze more lights in and around it and be able to open all 4 of my doors. You want to be able to open your doors, so be careful. So needless to say, I'm gonna have a lot more lights on this truck and when I do this again next year. But this is why you want to use LEDs, because they draw way less wattage. It's going to be way easier on your vehicle to use LEDs. Do not use regular lights because you're going to be limited on how much you can put on, and it's going to pull way more current. But that's enough about that. So let's go to how I actually use the power inverter to supply power to the lights itself. This is where things can get a little customized depending on your vehicle and what you want to do. I'll show you what I did that worked for me. So if I step out and we go to the front of my vehicle again, and we open her up, make sure I don't hurt my reef. Okie dokie. All right, here's what y'all really need to see. Because I've only showed you the driver's side right now. You see I got lights that run all around the back, all around the front. But if you come over here, I've got an entirely separate strand. These strands are not connected in any way. Because coming back over to the driver's side, you'll see where it starts. I got a strand going right underneath. This does not get pinched. There's a little gap. Everything's fine. And get the leaves out of the way. This is where I plug in the strand. All right, this is a little extension cord. Electrical tape is your friend. I'll go into this why here in a bit. But if you follow this cord, we go all down and you'll see it, woo, it kind of ends. I don't know if the light's gonna be able to show really well, but it's going through a little spot. Now, all vehicles, I believe, have this. And trust me, I am not a gearhead, all right? I am a straight do-it-yourselfer trying to help all the other do-it-yourselfers out there. But this is now a better shot. And what I want you to see is that all vehicles have a spot in the firewall where you can run extra cables through these little nipples right here is what they're called, all right? And I just puncture a little hole to get this cord through. Now, if you're wondering to yourself, how in the world did I get the other end of the extension cord through this tiny little hole that's probably only this big? Well, the answer is I didn't. I cut the cord. So let's go into the vehicle and I'll show you what I did. Okay, so we're going back in, and this is that same cord. Normally, I have floorboards here. All right. Seriously? Yeah, normally I have floorboards here, and normally these are taped down. I removed it just for the sake of this video, but I cut it. And then I spliced it back together. I got some heat shrink on here to hold it all together nice and neat. And this is how I run power to both strands of lights, because this goes right underneath, and you already saw where it was plugged in earlier. And if I step in and come to the other side, you'll see there's my other cord. And again, normally these are taped down. Normally I've got floorboards on top of here to cover them so nobody trips on them or anything like that. And if your next question is what do you do with these cords when Christmas is over? Do they just sit there all year? Well, yeah. I keep them there all year. I keep them down with Gorilla Tape, with floorboards on top, and you would never know they were ever in this truck. Now, this method works for me, and I did it this way because I wanted this to look clean. I didn't want anyone to see anything other than the lights. I could have easily just hung an extension cord out the window. I could have done, all kinds of stuff. Depending on your vehicle, you might be able to get away with something like that. With this truck, I wanted it to look clean. I only want to see lights and nothing else, which is why I ran the power through the firewall of my vehicle. Is it necessary? No, that's just what I chose to do. In case you're curious how these extension cords sit in the vehicle year-round, let me show you that. So we're getting back out, all right, and come right over here. We'll use just the same driver's side. So if you look close, this is that cord. It's got this little nook right here in my engine compartment, more leaves. So if I were to try to grab right here, I'm gonna pull. If I were to try to pull, there's no way I'm gonna pull this thing through this tiny little gap, and when this is shut, this stays right there. This straight up does not move. So year round, these extension cords sit right here and they sit on the other side, and it's never been a problem. It's never been an issue. Like I said, this is my 3rd year of doing this, and it's worked perfectly fine. This is what works for me. Do what works for you. The next thing, and this is honestly the thing I get the most questions about, is how I actually stick the lights onto my truck. So I actually use 2 methods. Now, you'll see a lot of people on YouTube that say just use tape, just use tape. I'm too paranoid to use just tape. And I also want to add the method that I use. I am filming this on December 27th, 2021, and I put these lights on, all right, again, I'm going to show you everything here in a bit as far as where they all are, but I put these lights on the day after Thanksgiving. Here we are, December 27th, and minus a few little maintenance things that happen every single year, everything is just as it was a month ago. I haven't done a single thing to alter this, and I drive at 70 miles an hour on the freeway. The first thing you'll notice is these little suction cups right here. Now, I buy these on Amazon, and I'll put a link in the description there. And trust me, I am not making money on any of these things that I'm putting in the description, because I am not important enough on the internet for anyone to care what I buy. So you'll notice if I were to grab one of these and I'm tugging on it pretty good. Now, you could tug really hard and promise you it would come off. But if I were to just put my finger on it and just tap, it's not going anywhere. And you'll notice this one's actually a little loose, which is perfect timing for this video. I can show you how I actually attach these things and how I doctor them up to make sure that these lights stay in place. But you'll notice how many suction cups I got on here. When you combine that with the tape, like I said, these things do not go anywhere. So let me fix this little one that's a little bit loose, even though I'm going to be taking these lights off in probably another 2 or 3 days, just to show you how I do it. Go back into the vehicle, and I encourage anyone, I don't care how you're sticking the lights on your truck, always have everything that you would need to fix something if something were to go wrong. You see, I've got more suction cups here. I got zip ties, and I'll show you why I have those. I got some extra glue. I got my battery glue gun. I've got wire clippers. I've got scissors. I've got tape, and I've got electrical tape. Literally, I have everything that I would need to fix anything on this truck at a moment's notice. So we're gonna get one of these little guys. You can see what they look like. And get this, by the way, I don't care what you're doing. This has been one of the best things I ever bought. I got tons of woodworking tools, all kinds of fun stuff. But this, if you're doing Christmas lights, hot glue does not hurt Christmas lights. And this has been a godsend on Christmas. I tell you what, get yourself a battery-powered glue gun. I don't care if it's Ryobi. Get yourself one of these. You'll thank me, all right? Trust me. So while the glue gun's heating up, I'm going to go and stick this thing on. Now, one thing I also do every year that I do this, here, let me turn the camera around. Every year that I do this, right before I go to put these lights on, I run my truck through the car wash. You want to, I just don't do anything special. I go to a Blue Wave and just pay for the, $20 wash or whatever the heck it is. Just because you want a clean surface for these suction cups. The first year I did this, I didn't actually do that. And it still worked perfectly fine. It worked good enough for me to want to do it again the next year. But I learned that you want to have your vehicle as clean as possible because it's going to make these things stick so much better. It gets all the dirt, grime, dust, all that sort of stuff off the vehicle before you put these things on. So let's see if I can finagle this while holding the camera with one hand. So, yep, this is going to be super amateur. All right, so I've got them on there. All right, I'm gonna give it a little lick. It ain't gross. A little moisture helps. I'm just gonna wipe a little bit of smudge off. Normally I would clean this way better, but under the circumstances of taking these things off in a few days, I don't really care. All right, I just smash it down. Now look at them teeth. See how that's pinched real nice and tight? And this is the loose one. I'm just gonna, I don't really care if that thing stays on or not now because this one is way better. This thing ain't going anywhere. All right, it's done. Now, for those of you wondering, well, you're driving 70 miles an hour, maybe this is fine, but there's other lights on this vehicle that if wind was good enough, you see it could possibly come out. Well, that's where the glue gun comes into play, because if you look at this one, there's a little bit of dab of hot glue, little bit of dab of hot glue, little bit of dab of hot glue. I mean, every single one of these has a little bit of hot glue on it just to ensure that these lights don't pull out. And also, while I'm waiting on that hot glue to heat up, let me go over this tape with you. So this is the first year I've actually used this tape. Normally I use just a skinny black scotch tape, which I'll include a link for that as well. And I'll put 3 strips over it and let it be. This is the first year I've used this. This is called Gaffers tape. And I'd never heard of Gaffers tape before until this year, but apparently it's supposed to be better as far as tape residue. Now, I've never had a problem with the scotch tape. It works perfectly fine, but apparently this is supposed to be even better. This is what apparently they use in Hollywood and sound sets and everything when they're taping cables down and they don't want to leave any residue on any floor they're using because they don't want to do any damage. So that's why I wanted to give it a shot. I'm honestly going to go back to the black scotch tape though. Not that this was bad. Like I said, if you look, I mean, all the tape is still on, and I mainly use it for just a little extra insurance, and I kind of shape the lights a little bit just to kind of get them around the wheel well the way I want and all that sort of stuff. Really, the suction cups are holding the lights on. The Gaffers tape is just a little more pricey. It cost a lot more than what the regular black scotch tape did. The black scotch tape did just as good of a job, and I got more tape with it. I've used the same roll of tape for the first 2 years that I did these lights, and I still got plenty left. This Gaffers tape, by the time I was done, I almost went through the whole roll. So you get more bang for your buck with the scotch tape. The scotch tape worked just as good, so I'm probably just going to go back to that. But do what you want. If you really are concerned about any sort of residue, like I said, the scotch tape works pretty good, but this Gaffers tape, it's going to leave literally 0 residue on your vehicle. Okay, so my hot glue gun's nice and hot now, so I am so not looking at my camera while I'm doing this. I'm looking here. So if this video is ugly, it's because I don't want to get any hot glue on my nice green truck. Sometimes I'll take just a little stick just to make sure that I catch any hot glue that might dribble down and just wrap the stick with the hot glue as it's going. But that's it. All right, that's it. That's all I do, and I do that for every single one of those. Again, when you're doing this, run your lights however you want. I think I'm going to do it a little differently next year, but like I said, it starts here, snakes, works its way down, and there you're going to see why I got these zip ties, because I got some step-up deals on my truck. I got a black zip tie, black zip tie, black zip tie, and I run these through here. There's little holes where they're bolted on, and I run them through right there, and one way up front. And again, be prepared for stuff, all right? Let me show you this. This little light, I parked one night, and half my strand wasn't working. I was, you know, whoa, what the heck happened? My lights aren't working. This, the original bulb that was here, broke. Something from the gravel got picked up, smashed the light, whatever. I've got replacements in the vehicle, pulled that broken bulb out, put the new one on, worked just fine. But those are the little things that are gonna happen when you do this sort of stuff. So you wanna have all the stuff to fix these lights in your vehicle when you're driving around. But going back, you know, here we are on the back part, just whee, goes over the wheel well again, and around the lights, you know, start on the top. And then it goes up on the top right there. Then I actually got them right yonder there. And then we go back. And then look, yes, I can open my door. See, it's fine. The biggest thing now is we've gone over how to power them, how I run power from the inverter to the lights, and then how I actually attach the lights. The last part that I want to go over is all the little things that I've experienced through my time doing this that I've learned to hopefully help you out with when you do this to your vehicle, if you're going to do it. So the first part is moisture. All right, let me show you something. So with these suction cups, you'll notice I actually have them on my windshield. Now this is the first time I've actually put them on my windshield. If you go to the other side, you'll see they're on the windshield as well. Normally in the last years before this, I would actually stick them here. And it worked perfectly fine with one big exception. See how these lights are kind of hanging over? Well, move them over 3 inches and these will be hanging right here. I had to be real careful about shutting my door, and that got really annoying. I did smash a few bulbs in years past, so I said, to heck with that this year, I'm sticking them on my windshield. Well, that invited another issue, which was moisture, okay? Anytime I ran my wiper fluid on my vehicle, it pushed the water this way, all right? And actually, they held up really, really well, all right? I only had a few pop off, and those that did pop off, I stuck right back on, and I added a few extra ones for insurance. They actually held up way better than what I thought. The other thing about moisture is I live in Rosenberg, Texas, and this is about 30 minutes west of Houston. And while we usually don't get too much rain over the holidays, we do get a little. There's always some dew moisture in the morning because of the humidity down here. And we actually had a really big rainstorm this year, and we had a big rainstorm last year. And through the rainstorm, I did have to replace a little bit more of the suction cups than I normally do. But again, it wasn't like I was driving and lights were hanging on the side of the road or there's any major issues or anything. No, I had the rainstorm came and went. I pulled on the driveway, found a few that were hanging loose, stuck them back on, put another new one right next to it just for a little extra insurance. And that was it. Not a big deal. So these things hold up pretty good with moisture, but they are not waterproof. So if you live in a part of the country where you're going to be getting a ton of rain, you might want to think about either putting more cups on there or maybe looking at a different method of sticking them on altogether. I will say the Gaffers tape honestly held up way better than what I thought as far as the rain went. I did not have to restick any tape on. So the tape does hold up really well. Now, the next thing to go over is this electrical tape. You remember I closed my hood, but I had a lot of electrical tape wrapped around these plugs in here. And if you follow the strands, you see, look, I got electrical tape over the female end of this one. If you come over here where I've got them plugged in, I got electrical tape wrapped around the female end of this one. If you come up to the top, you'll see I've got electrical tape wrapped around right there as well, all right? And I do this on all of them. It's a good thing to do for all Christmas lights, okay? When you put Christmas lights in your yard, not just on your vehicle, I mean, anything, any exposed end, you want to put this electrical tape on. You wouldn't think it would hold up really well, but it holds up insanely well, and it does an amazingly good job of keeping moisture out of your electrical system of your lights and prevents them from shorting out. Like here, I'll actually show you what I do to my house. Here, let me show you this. So we're coming over here, literally every plug, electrical tape. If I come over here, and I'll show you where I got a little hub here where I got some stuff plugged in. Look, I got a few things that come in, electrical tape, like crazy. All right, here I don't need it because they've got little covers on it, and this functions perfectly fine. But if I come on over here, look, 2 plugs plugged in, electrical tape. I come over here, that's it, look at the thing. Oh, what is that? Oh, electrical tape. Electrical tape is your best friend when it comes to anything with Christmas lights because it's gonna keep all the moisture out of the system, and you're gonna make darn sure that your lights stay on. I had no problems with these lights on my truck one time in all my years, and I don't care how intense the rain was, I never had them go out once, not once. Now, the last thing I want to go over with you is some actual wear and tear that is going to happen to your vehicle. This is something that I wish I would have known before I did this. I am not very emotionally attached to my truck, so a little bit of scuff marks here and there, I could care less. but it is gonna do some damage to your vehicle. All right, let me show you what I'm talking about. If you look on the front, there's really not a lot here, okay? And there's really not even a lot here, all right? It only happens in certain parts of my vehicle, and it's probably the way the wind comes across and that sort of stuff. But this is what I want to show you. See, you got scuff marks here, scuff marks here, scuff marks there. There's a scuff mark right there. Scuff mark there, scuff mark there. That's a good one, actually. Some scuff marks here and there. And this is not from just 1 year. This is from 3 years. There's a good one right there, okay? And the point is that these, you know, blow and they knock and they scrape and they do all kinds of stuff. That is going to leave some marks on your vehicle. So if you're driving some super duper 60,000, I don't even know what you're driving, all right? If you're driving something where you're like, I don't want that happening to my vehicle, then you probably shouldn't do this. Or you could honestly, you could probably buff that out. I don't care enough to do that, but it's not in the paint. It's never rusted. It's never done anything like that. So you could probably pay a detailer to take care of that for you if you wanted to do that. But it is going to leave some scrapes. Or some scuff marks on your vehicle. So just want you to know that that is going to happen. There's no preventing that. All right, but that's it, y'all. I hope that was informative. I hope that was helpful. I'm always, you know, learning. So if there's anyone watching this who does this as well and has some pointers that they want to throw down, just leave them in the comments. Let the community know. But this is just the way I do it. It's worked really well for me over the years. I plan on doing this every year. My kids get a kick out of it. And I tell you this, a lot of the public gets a kick out of it. You know, where I live, there's always some people that kind of look at you when you're driving. They kind of give you this, like, man, that guy's got too much time on his hands. Trust me, I do not have too much time on my hands. But most people, man, they love it, and the kids really love it, and that's really why I do it. I've got 3 boys. They enjoy the lights. They enjoy, you know, the holiday, the season, and all that sort of stuff, and other people's kids do too, and that's really what this is about. That's why I do it, and that's why I'm going to probably do it even bigger next year, but that's why you should be doing it. So have fun with it. Spread some Christmas cheer in your area. I promise you, everyone who sees your vehicle when you're driving around like this, no matter what kind of day they're having, you're going to make them smile. So make people smile. And God bless you. Have a great day.